My coworker took credit for my project in front of the entire company. I let her finish her presentation before I said anything. I had been working on the Harlow account for 11 weeks. 11 weeks of late evenings, reworked decks, and client calls I took from my car during lunch because the office was too loud to think. The account was worth more than anything our team had landed in 2 years, and when my manager handed it to me in September, she said she believed I was ready for something this size. I took that seriously in the way I take most things, quietly and completely. Her name was Diane. She sat 2 desks from mine and had a particular talent for being present at the right moments without doing much of the work that created them. We weren't close, but we were cordial. I had no reason to watch my back around her because I hadn't learned yet that some people don't need a reason. The all-hands presentation was scheduled for a Thursday morning. My manager knew the material was mine. The slides were built in my account, saved under my name, version controlled with my initials on every draft. I had sent the final deck to my manager the previous Friday with a brief summary of the key recommendations. I walked into the conference room that morning and found Diane already standing at the front pulling up a presentation on the main screen. It was my deck, my slides, my data, my formatting, my footnotes. She had changed the title page. Where my name had been, hers was now. I sat down. People were filing in, finding seats. My manager came in and sat at the far end of the table. I watched her look at the screen and then at me. Something moved across her face that I couldn't fully read from that distance. Diane began. She walked through every section with the confidence of someone who believed ownership was 9/10 of the law. The research I had pulled, the strategic recommendations I had written at 11 on a Tuesday night, the client insight section I had built from scratch after 3 separate calls with the Harlow team. She presented all of it in the first person. I sat and listened and did not move. She was 12 minutes in when my manager said her name. "I want to stop you there," she said. Her voice was pleasant and level. "Can you walk me through your research methodology for the client segmentation on slide 9? Diane paused. Slide 9 was the section I was most proud of. A segmentation framework I had developed after a conversation with the Harlow team that shifted the entire strategic direction of the account. I had documented the methodology in a separate notes file that Diane would have had no access to. She said something general about audience mapping. My manager nodded and asked to follow up about the data source for the retention figures on slide 11. Diane gave an answer that was adjacent to correct, but missed the specific context entirely. Context that only existed in my original research notes and in my own memory. My manager looked at me from the end of the table. "I'd love to hear your thinking on that one," she said. I set down my coffee. I walked through the retention methodology in full. The source, the filtering logic, the reason I had weighted certain variables over others, the conversation with the Harlow analytics team that informed the final numbers. I spoke for about 90 seconds. The room was quiet in a particular way. Diane did not speak again for the rest of the presentation. Afterward, my manager asked us both to stay behind. She waited until the room cleared, then asked Diane directly where she had accessed the deck. Diane said I had shared it with her for feedback. I opened my sent folder on my phone. No email to Diane, no shared link, nothing. My manager looked at the screen for a moment, then she thanked Diane for attending and asked her to close the door on her way out. She was off the Harlow account by end of day. I found out later she was placed on a formal performance review for a pattern my manager had been documenting long before any of this. I didn't celebrate. I went back to my desk and kept working. The account closed successfully 6 weeks later. My manager took me to lunch and told me the client had specifically requested I be their primary contact going forward. I thought about Diane once on the drive back to the office. Just once.